Then, through the power of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, how should a son or daughter of noble family train who wishes to practice the profound Prajnaparamita? Addressed in this way, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, said to Venerable Shariputra, O Shariputra, a son or daughter of noble family who wishes to practice the profound Prajnaparamita should see in this way, seeing the five skandhas to be empty of nature. Form is emptiness, emptiness also is form. Emptiness is no other than form, form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness are emptiness. Thus, Shariputra, all dharmas are emptiness. There are no characteristics, there is no birth and no cessation. There is no impurity and no purity. There is no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no perception, no formation, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no dharmas, no I dhatu up to no mind dhatu, no dhatu of dharmas, no mind consciousness dhatu, no ignorance, no end of ignorance up to no old age and death, no end of old age and death, no suffering, no origin of suffering, no cessation of suffering, no path, no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, since the Bodhisattvas have no attainment, they abide by means of Prajnaparamita. Since there is no obscuration of mind, there is no fear. They transcend falsity and attain complete nirvana. All the Buddhas of the three times, by means of Prajnaparamita, fully awaken to unsurpassable, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the great mantra of Prajnaparamita, the mantra of great insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra that calms all suffering should be known as truth, since there is no deception. The Prajnaparamita mantra is said in this way: Te Amata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangati Bodhisoha. Thus, Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound Prajnaparamita. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, thus it is, O son of noble family, thus it is. One should practice the profound Prajnaparamita just as you have taught, and all the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra and noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, that whole assembly in the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas rejoiced and praised the words of the Blessed One. Chandara Samarayame Te Yata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasangati Bodhisoha Papa Bunchu Sunji Gai Tempe Doji Shil Badoji Meba Doji Shewa Doji Jagi Baji Metin Beshu Tanji Shedin Goye Soa Gerin Donja Jejo Jewada Medun Ube Jendan Jewada Tumba Jin Bun Zon Zon Yoji Daji De Jan Den Dele Jo. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. Holy Lamas high, wrap the sky of your Dharma bodies in massive clouds of knowledge and love, and let them pour upon the earth of your disciples as we are ready a shout of rain, the teachings deep and wide. Send forth this mandala to you, precious Guru. Vedam Guru Radha Mandala Gamni Radayami. Jadan Zayi Janam La Janju Badu Dani Yazuji Dagi Chunye Jibe Zonam Ji Drola Benji Zanye Juba Jadan Zayi Janam La Janju Badu Dani Yazuji Dagi Chunye Jibe Zonam Ji Drola Benji Zanye Juba Jadan Zayi Janam Janju Badu Dani Yazuji Dagi Chunye Jibe Zonam Ji Drola Benji Zanye Juba.
我当个是老的节目，连那些上班去，那上班上的就都下去，连这个啥节送个哪呢？上的就都下去，我得来的嘛对吧？上的就都下去，对了，上的就都下去对了，这点吧当七八多几项去那个哪呢？他多几项去的嘛对嘛对吧？老人节目现在不一定的都家长过去公安的吧？过去公安他的嘞。你把多几项去是吧？过去一些点糊涂。
So once again, we're looking at Lama Tsong-kha-pa's great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment, and particularly the section on karma and its results. So when we look at the section in the text, we find that it's divided into three categories. First, reflecting on karma and its effects in general, and then reflecting on the specifics of karma and its effects in particular, and then a last category of how one engages in virtue and abandons non-virtue after having reflected on karma and its effects in general and specifically. So now we're in the third section of that outline, and when we look at that third section of the outline, there's two categories. First, a general explanation, and then second, purification, in particular the way of purification through the four opponent powers. So that's where we are, in particular the way of purification through the four opponent powers, and that section begins on 251 in the English text. So the section here, we find that there's only one category, but Jayan Sheba breaks it down into 8 categories, and then those 8 categories complete the section on the training the mind in the stage of the past shared in common with beings of small capacity.
This
is such a very important section, so we've already gone through it, but we'll go through it again.
nyomo moala subi onki nyeba shuna chemanyaba majaba chemanyaba jadu moron yus tamba tuji jenji shijubi tausomba nala beguso so de saji tambre ndwa taga to de nyomo moyo ki dibasaya karsagure temugo ki dibasaya oya karsagure tene meshigo dibasaya la so de sukngalo shomba ina andaga shan dig marjana ane dibal jel dunga jinu ne batang ngasul je ne ba yoris wote tamba tuji jenje ane wote shiju tamo son ja yoris wote ul mane bodo je le du gojero wote tambo dere
Lessa.
enje tulji lu roz lu shan du china.
So the first section in Jayan Sheba's outline is this section of the Great Treatise. So it says the major heading, in particular the way of purification through the four powers. Though you make great effort not to be defiled by wrongdoing, faults may arise due to such things as carelessness and a preponderance of afflictions. If this happens, it is inappropriate to disregard them without caring, so you must try to apply the remedy about which the compassionate teacher spoke. So this is the first section of Jayan Sheba's outline. And it basically states that even though you want to turn away from wrongdoing, at times, because you are under the influence of the afflictions, under the influence of delusion, under the influence of unknowing or masheba, not knowing, or carelessness, you engage in non-virtue anyway, even though you don't want to. And this non-virtue will lead to suffering, will lead to the lower realms of cyclic existence. So once one recognizes that fact, then it's necessary to find some way to counteract it. So then the methods, many methods have been presented by Lord Buddha to remedy those afflictions, those non-virtuous actions that you've engaged in, or to purify them. So this is the first section of Jayan Sheba's outline.
Tade shijubi tudela niris donwa shijubi tudan deba shijubi tu donwa shijubi tu de saje nyeba je deba shijubi tu de saje sombal yongdowa donwa shijubi tu de wade donwa shijubi tu ne donwa susu ne somba ta shalas ta suta donba de chansen donba ta kadon de ce koso ane donwa shijubi tu de ne sunun tuya yorota ane mognan sunun tuya yore shanchu semba sunun tuya yore ane sanga donba yena wate sunun tuya yore wate insare tambote nibadre.
So the next two sections of Jayan Sheba's outline deal with first, which would be number 2 in the outline, how to remedy any downfalls or any infractions that you've done in relation to the 3 vows. And then the third category is how to remedy non-virtues or misdeeds that don't fall into that category. This is the order of 2 and 3 according to Jayan Sheba's outline. So this first category of infractions or downfalls within the 2 types of negativities that you can remedy or purify is specific to vow holders. So those monks and nuns and others who hold the individual liberation vows, and those who hold the bodhisattva vows, and those that hold the tantric vows, or the secret Tsong-kha-pa, the secret tantric vows. So each of those different vow sets have their own sojung, or ritual for purification. So the individual liberation vows, you have the monks and nuns get together and do the sojung to remedy any of the downfalls that they've created. So downfalls are a breaking, a separation of, literally falling from the vow, or a separation from the vow. So in the individual liberation vows, you find the sojung, or this ritual for purification. And then in the bodhisattva vows, there's a separate sojung remedy ceremony for purification. And then the tantric vows have a separate sojung as well, a ceremony for purification of that vow. So this is separate from misdeeds or sins. These are specific to vow holders and how to restore vows that have been broken. So that's section number 2. Lesser.
Deba shi jubi chun doji shade chuji tenbi dole shamba shangchu samba samba chenpo chuji dan dena ane deba shi shin saba seji naba njuro de deba shi jubi chu dudu jin sunwa ten sare ta ji kan shen na dana ma nyebu doji jeba shi hun sare ji kan shen na ji de naba suen jiba kundu shubi ta dan Nyaba kundu shubi tau tang, nyaba lhadu bi tau tang, tenji to so, to na so she sung de sa. She jin sa bi le ne, nyungen yinbi te se ji nu na, ma ngen pa ta ji mu so wa tu wa ting sa de.
So now the next section, number 3 of the Jayan Sheba outline, is how to remedy misdeeds, and that is by way of the 4 powers, or 4 opponent powers. So this section is broken down into 2 categories, and that is first the abbreviated presentation, and then the expanded presentation, or the thorough or expanded presentation. So it says, however, you should remedy sins through the 4 powers. The sutra giving the 4 teachings says, Maitreya, if Bodhisattvas, the great hero, possess these 4 teachings, then they will overcome any sins that they have committed and accumulated. So this is the section that's the abbreviated explanation of the 4 opponent powers. And then it says, what are the 4? And that's where it begins the expanded explanation, or the more thorough explanation of what those 4 are. Digson.
This one.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So Rinpoche read the rest of this quote. What are the 4? They are the power of eradication, the power of applying remedies, the power of turning away from faults, and the power of the foundation. Dixon. Less so.
Nebal hadu to tenji to marbe tenji to jirwa ta to tom tola to tom ne thoma meba ne megi ne leje bala njoba sheba mo hites thoma meba ta tiba to leji deba ngagi deba yiji deba sa sha ba to sul njoba je adres njoba mo hite tejwala tenjoba de yongala tene jusen karsan tan warsna ne dibi nami jinjebo san tan wures nami suji jebo sunji chu sango so sa chu sango tin barda ta dibi deba dele dunga jinu ne ba yoare ne sunji ne ba yoare ne dungal gabiyo mare ne sunji al gabiyo ma gab meza an debal wat jobat yongres to san da baina jusen to wat son desare.
So now we begin, let me just read this through. You will definitely experience the result of karma that you have done and accumulated. Since the 4 powers can destroy this kind of karma before it starts to take effect, it goes without saying the 4 powers can destroy karmas whose result is indefinite. The 4 powers are as follows. So now we get into the first power, which is the power of eradication. The second power is the power of applying remedies. The third power is the power of turning away from faults. And then the last power, the power of the foundation, or the power of the basis. So the first begins with the power of eradication. The first power is great contrition for having done non-virtuous actions since beginningless time. In order to feel this, it is necessary to meditate on the way in which you produce the three effects of actions, fruitional, and so forth. At the time of putting this into practice, do so by the way of the two methods, the confession of sins in the Sutra of the Golden Light, and the confessions of sin by way of the 35 Buddhas. So this power is, the meaning of this is that once you engage in non-virtuous actions through your body, speech, and mind, then these actions will in the future lead to suffering in the lower realms of cyclic existence. So it's necessary to think about a reason for having regret in order to really feel, truly feel regret. So you engage in that analysis by looking at the effects of non-virtuous actions, and then when you realize that non-virtuous actions lead to suffering in the lower realms, these are experiences that you don't like or you don't want to have. So you then naturally regret having done the things that cause these things that you dislike. So it's necessary to think of these reasons in order to generate the true feeling of great regret for the non-virtuous actions that you've engaged in through your body, speech, and mind since beginningless time. So then once you have this regret, and then you need to acknowledge this misdeed or downfall, then there have been two methods presented here for doing so, for acknowledging downfalls or confession of sins. So the first is in the Sutra of the Golden Light, and then the confession of sins by way of the 35 Buddhas. So these are two methods for acknowledgement of misdeeds. I guess you wouldn't say acknowledgement of downfalls, because that would be an incorrect way to say it, so I apologize for that. So the confession of misdeeds, or the confession, the acknowledgement of misdeeds. So it's a ceremony within these texts once you generate regret. So the next section is the power of applying remedies, and this is a very important section. There are six separate remedies that are presented. So the first is dependence on the profound sutras, includes such activities as receiving the oral transmission of sutras, such as the Prajnaparamita, retaining their meaning, and reading them. So this first is referring to either in listening to seek lemba, like getting the words literally, so getting the teaching of a sutra, or memorizing it, or just reading it. So this is what dependence on the profound sutras refers to. And there are many sutras that fall within the Prajnaparamita. We have the 100,000 verse Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, the 20,000 verse Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, the 8,000 verse Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, and then the abbreviated Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge. So all of these would fall into the category of sutras. And then also in the Tibetan tradition, in the Kangjur, the actual speech of Lord Buddha, we find 100 books that are translated. So all of those would fall into the category, into this category, if you are to receive the words, read the words, or memorize the words. So this is the first of the remedies among the 6, and that's dependence upon the profound sutras. Diksun. So when we have the Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge, and then also the 35 Buddhas of Confession. If we recite those words, or we think about the meaning of the words, then it would all of these practices would fall under the dependence on profound sutras.
What the share Nibudo, the Janava, Namba Samago, the Tashi, the Kitchever,
Jakang Namp, Jayang Namp. Okay, so this Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge is very important, not only to the Tibetan Buddhists, but also the Chinese tradition relies heavily on this as well. It's very important.
Then don't shut to over the Gazo, the canonly, what the Tibetan was and what.
And also we have in our book the 35 Buddhas, Tsong-kha-pa, and by reciting this we also can purify our misdeeds.
That Tony Tombanila member, that Tombanila members, near the Marbe.
Lessa.
Do the Samala never, Tombanila member, near Barwa, that Tombania. That got that Tony go at the Rem, that may be, that may, we say Chunila, Jujin, Demane, Tabara Ichiba, also what they Tony combatant, Tony, that imagine we say wasana, what you said la Uju said, now you said you say new Dravata, what the Uju said Tony Tony, what the Tony Guantres, Tony Guna, Debatana, and the Chuna, the Maruba Gunsona, Denzil Nundegre, Taba Druma Shesuna, Taba Dresses Lord Nundegre, and the Taba Chuna, Dama Maruba Sheson, Denzil Nundegre, Denzil Nuna, Denzil Devo, the Chat of Conduta, Tomo Nundegre, Tea Devo, Cheganaki, Dungelas of Tajil Nundegres, Tony Gumbat, what the neighbor Ashun Marbe, what to some things.
So number 2 is interest in emptiness, means to comprehend the reality in which there is no self, and which is luminously clear, and to have conviction that the mind is premortally pure. So this luminously clear, there are 2 types. One refers to the uze ni, the that's
okay. Use in a Louis River use in Louis Louis River use in Sheja is Louis River use in Sheja is
awareness.
Louis River Louis less what the use what the Uji said, Uji says Tony Robata, Uji says and Tony Shebi Sheba Tamatos Ruko.
So, in this luminously clear, we sometimes translate as clear light. And clear light can be divided into two categories. One which is merely referring to emptiness, and the second category which is referring to an awareness that is comprehending emptiness. So clear light can be divided, like when we look at the actual word, it can be just referring to emptiness itself or referring to the awareness that is apprehending emptiness. What does this mean when we speak of emptiness and no self? We incorrectly grasp at things as being truly established. And the only thing that can serve as an antidote or an opponent to this misconception is the mind that recognizes that things are not truly established. In the same way that the only thing that would serve as an opponent to the misconception that believes a rope is a snake is the correct awareness or correct understanding that the rope is a rope and not a snake. So the only thing that serves as an opponent to the incorrect belief is the correct belief. Once one is able to get rid of the grasping at phenomena as being truly established, then what comes out of that is also abandoned. So from the grasping at phenomena as being truly established, we have the arisal of attachment, hatred, and delusion. And then from that, then we have this cyclic existence. And we have the suffering of birth, aging, sickness, and death. We can stop that process by developing the understanding, the correct understanding that phenomena is not truly established. And by doing so, we then get rid of everything else that is caused by that misunderstanding. So really the best remedy or antidote within these is this interest in emptiness.
What do you do? Be sure the team like Google, Shanju Sambasolo Google, Hale Google, what the Tanjil, the Tuni to be sure manager, Marvota, Tuni to be sure the Shira Pench.
So the wisdom realizing emptiness is indispensable in all of the different traditions. So in the Hinayana tradition, the wisdom realizing emptiness is necessary. The Bodhisattva vehicle, the wisdom realizing emptiness is necessary. And the tantric vehicle, the wisdom realizing emptiness is necessary. You don't find any vehicle that the wisdom realizing emptiness is in a core instruction.
Ta somban deba la temba de marwa. Somban deba la temba ne yeg jaba la soba. Sonche zon cheba jena chuga jen de ba us. Onzang ge chuga jen de ba de la ne deba la temba so ta mande ta nga sung ha wo de she no no la ha te ta o men men ma men sung ha ma do wo de ha mo de na ji ju de ji da 참말을 하여도 다 다대도 오면은 마음에서 답이 하들 찾아봐이나 찾아도바고 찾아도비 두갈래 나유진고도 예미진고도 산다네 대툴대도 오면은 마음에서 하지고네 우선 하다봐이나 데발을 때봐서 어딘서 말봐 데발을 때봐 전화지 셴레즈고 셴레즈 두갈래 네 예미 나유진고도 오만 배번 같이 거네. 근데 이당 그걸 어떤 답은 인사 말이야. 어떤 답은 인사래. 다 아미타바도 바이나 아미타 자와 외바메 두갈래 같이 거네. 어떤 공부이나 대발 대발인데 제대로 도와.
Yoba dan.
인사래 봐.
Yoba. Okay. So the third category is dependence on recitation, means to recite according to the rituals the special formula such as the 100-syllable mantra of Vajrasattva. This third section is referring to doing the complete practice that accompanies the mantric recitation. So For instance, if you are doing Buddha Shakyamuni's mantra, Teata Om Muni Muni Maha Muni Ye Soha, and while you're doing that, you're meditating on Shakyamuni, and whether in meditating in front and self-generation, and then also while you're reciting the mantra, imagining the moon disk, the mandala moon disk that then supports this mantra garland that circumambulates this moon disk. And the mantra garland is the mantra of the specific deity that you're reciting the mantra of. So if that accompanies the mantric recitation, then it falls under this category of dependence on recitation. This would refer to any among the any of the mantras in any of the 4 classes of tantras. In Amitabha practice, you also have this same visualization of the moon disk and the mantra garland and so forth. Dai Jinkor, Dixon.
That's right.
Dixon.
What that the Kondal Bonzang should be the Jangdua. Bonzang should be less. Suka Nami Chibi, Meji, Suka Nabi Chibi, Meji, Madi Jin to Tansin, Kunsi Tar, Deju Mala, Tutin Long Bar, Tundu Chibi, Meji, Dibasi, so the Piji and water. Sukasana, that Naja Cabo, Tawa Lang. Na gambi tuso the China jil mambana and Charizur Ganga Sinu Marbe.
Lesser.
Then Najin, Deju the Mandamares, Deju Mage, and then DB Shinga Sinu, Person Jagando, DB Shin, DB Suna Martin,
Lesser.
Jar, the Son to Marbe. What the time Deju May, DB Shin del Nundere, and then Sunama, DB Suna Martin Nundere, DB Dal Nundere, Person. Janote, Kupasha Mate, Rimbu, the Ramato, put the Shin Tang, Sona Martin Tang, Jas on the Rendua.
Lesser.
Deju Sheba Ina, and then Deju Sheba, Deju Me, and then DB Shin Gatsin de Gre, Deju Me, Sona Martin Shoyungre, DB Sona Martin, Deju Me, and then Da Mabat Sound of Grace, what the son to Pujadin, but Ponzang Shubale. Suka Nami Chibi Meji is put on with the Rendua.
Lesser.
Sukasana, what is how you do, such a combo. Suka Nami Chibi Meji is Madi Jin to Tansin, Kunsi Taras, such a combo, how you do the Mambazuna, Shinkjil Zarata Gansinigro. Example, Deju Malas, and Ekijabalas was one Chabajana, Chukajin to Deba was Deba. And then Deju Mala Treating Long Bar Treating Song, and then Han Deba Ina, and then Tundri Abazamba Ina Wate, and then Deju Metake, DB Shin Sindigres, Tundri Chambi Meji Deba Seas, Tambud was example Tambud Che, Cheta Kala Nyame Zeche, Dona, and Ziji Mezo Joa Jins. Quand le ten de Marbe, Yamasha Sona Ote, quand de Machungro. Then Najin, Sutin Yemi, de Juji, and Dona, Debi Kanja Sebanjurus, Sutin Yemi, what the Jug Yamat Shabaina, Debi Suna Montishungres, Sebanjuro, Mena Mala Mamusubajin. Mena mala mame shubayi, ne mena malu sewa sheba jins, sero ton sabi debi me, deje me nyeto sewa shes, wate darte yimbare, sheson so wate batu chilu ne, deshi jajana.
So now we have a quote from the Tantra requested by Sabahu. It says, the flames from fires that spread in spring forests are out of control, burning up all the thickets. Likewise, the winds of ethical discipline fan the fires of recitation, and the flames of great perseverance burn up sin. So this is the first example that's given, and it's comparing so here it says the fires spread in spring forests are out of control, burning up the thickets. So this is referring to a place that's very dry, and where the greenery almost becomes a white color. It's so dry, and is able to be burned up very easy. So it's saying, just like the fire can burn away the trees, likewise, when you have the wind of ethical discipline, this is referring to the 3 types of ethics. So the winds of ethical discipline fan the fires of recitation, and the flames of great perseverance burn up sins or misdeeds. So here there is a comparison being made to misdeeds and these thickets, these pieces of wood that are burned away by our perseverance, ethical discipline, and recitation. So this is the first example that's given. The second is, just as when the sun's rays destabilize snow, it melts in the unbearable brilliance, so too do the snows of sins disappear when destabilized by the sunbeams of recitation and ethical discipline. Here is the second example where the snows of misdeeds are able to be burnt away by the sun rays of recitation and ethical discipline. So this is the second example. And then the third example is lighting a butter lamp in a dark gloom entirely clears away the darkness. Likewise, the darkness of sins accumulated for 1,000 lifetimes is dispelled by the butter lamp of recitation. So here, the third example is the darkness of misdeeds. And it's stating that by engaging in recitation, one is able to, like a butter lamp can illuminate darkness, illuminate the darkness of the misdeeds. So 3 examples that are given here to show the greatness of the recitation.
다지던 뒤지고는 하자와 이나 어디 만다버레스 대 디비신 세는 그레스 어디 대답이 되는 다지던 뒤지고는 하도 잡아 이나 하자바데 네 네미 회진 남레스 디비 가르 쇼용 그레스 디비 가르는 그레스 달 다지던 뒤지고네 아니 어디 하도 잡아 이나 아니 디비 면나 산도 그레스 디비 면나 다르마르바 what this one the nevudo ta toni shishin la temba tomba de marbe shishin la temba ana shero ni bola soba bon ni je ton tje what so temba ina debi tril no de debi suno martin no de debi dal no de tenaji toni gomba ina debi tril no de debi suno martin no de debi dal no de
lesser. So it's very important that we really take on and memorize the meaning of this and the words that are here, because then we can begin to think along these lines. We can think that by engaging in the front and self-generation practices while doing mantric recitation, I am able to burn away the misdeeds the thickets of my misdeeds, burn away the thickets of my misdeeds, or the trees of my misdeeds. By engaging in the front and self-generation practices while doing mantric recitation, I am able to melt the snows of my misdeeds, the snow, and by engaging in the front and self-generation practices while doing mantric recitation, I'm able to clear away the darkness of my misdeeds, or illuminate the darkness of my misdeeds, therefore clear them away. So we should also, though, think that when we're engaging in the recitation of, or receiving the words of, or memorizing any among the sutras, such as the 100,000 verse Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, the 20,000 verse, or the 8,000 verse, or the Sutra of the Heart of Transcendent Knowledge, we are at that, by engaging in that, we are burning away the thickets of our misdeeds. We're able to melt away the snow of our misdeeds. We're able to illuminate the darkness of our misdeeds. And then also interest in emptiness would do these three things as well. So we can think about this in this way, and then we really have a very secure understanding of it. Dixon.
Yaki jabala su zon chaba jana chuga shen deba wos deba tiga wate debi shin nendore debi snow mountain nendore debi dal nendore zero wate ta tende shanchu samba chuge wate nyanglen jeba ina wate deba shira sheshab tanu zero nyetu suge deba chungu tanu zero ranje gandis tanu zero kusan lo jachi jung yin jiro kanga debak chiba tatsu chiba yin jimare khakha yin jiro.
So then here it says according to the rituals, the special formula, such as the 100-syllable mantra of Vajrasattva. So if we're doing the recitation of Vajrasattva's mantra while doing the front and self-generation practices, then we are burning away the thickets of our thickets of our misdeeds. We're melting the snows of our misdeeds. We're illuminating the darkness of our misdeeds. So this is what is meant here. And the amount of purification, or the level of purification, depends upon the individual and engaging in it, and what their way of thinking is. So when a bodhisattva engages in this, then he or she is able to get rid of a very large amount of non-virtue. A Pratyeka Buddha, a medium amount, and a hearer, a small amount. So the way of thinking that is combined with these practices make it more or less potent. Yeah.
What the Diva said, the Diva Kuru memorable could you maris, Diva Donagin, Nuba, Nazulja, Nuba Juro, Nuba Chun Chun to Javadala, Tabas, Kogures.
So when we say this purification of our misdeeds, we're saying lessening it little by little. We're lessening the suffering in the lower realms of cyclic existence little by little when we do this. It doesn't mean it just goes right away. It means that it's lessened. So this is how purification works. It's a gradual process, and gradual.
What Deba Deba does it, Deba Shai Tsama Deba Shui Tsama Matua Tesito, Dejo Shawus, Deba Tasen to Mayumba to Dejo Shawures, and Tasen Mayumba to Dejo Shawus, what the Tatsama Karias and Malana, and saying about Juba dance, Malan saying about Juba and the Lantan Deba Tavatar and Dua, and then Malan and Shotwag Malantaya, Omatwag Malantawaina, Omasu Toas. Oma sus denol tatene oma tatene wote origino tuka kuchugo jirta oma su ton nyalantan diba tagres tene chuba malan chuba joba nyalantan diba tanagres malan nyama shawatan dawa shawat ane dawa shawat tuana malan the Tansuna, Devatabataris, then Nakalandua Nyalantan Devatabataris, then Mumbawa Nyalantan Devatabataris, Mahetan Manabo, Manabodan Zin, Tuba Nyalantan Devatabataris, Galun me, Ganituan Nyalantana, Devata Trapata Animal Tunga, the Nyalantan Devatabatare Dua, Omanjun Shintan, Lambuchetan, then Chuchutan, Redan, Sengi Chetan, Kazang Tinto, Zebasa, Omanjun Shinlan Zeba, Lambuchil Shamba, Chuchula Shamba, and Redan Sengi Chilla, Redan Sengi Chilanduba, Nyalatana, Devata Yamare, Kambi, Kazang Tinto, Zeba, Kamba to the Zeba, the Nyalatana Devatavataris, then the Chunya Banalatan Devatavataris, and the Ta Yimba, Kuji is only son those, son so.
Listen. The Minapo Tupa, this the Sena.
Manabutubas, Manabudan Zisuna, Kasuna Manabutuba Lagmarbe. Manabudan Z, Manabudan Z, the Manabi cannot the Jesuna, Tobas.
Ale, the NGK Tola. Napo Tolo.
Tubas.
Okay.
Chetan, Sangazina, singing agro, Sanging Chet Tono.
Overpower. Self-do. So the next section shows what are the signs that there has been a purification, and we find those in our dreams. Further, repeat the recitations until you see signs that you have cleared away your sins. The formula of exhortation states that the signs are dreaming the following: vomiting bad food, consuming such foods as yogurt and milk. And Rinpoche said it also orange juice or any kind of beverage, you could say as well, would fall into that. Any nice beverage. Vomiting, seeing the sun and the moon moving through the air, blazing fires, subduing water buffalo, and black persons. The dark clothing is not in the Tibetan. It says black persons. Seeing the community of monks or nuns, fully ordained monks or nuns, fully ordained monks and nuns, seeing a tree that gives out a milky substance, riding upon an elephant or a bull, climbing upon a lion throne, climbing up a mansion or a mountain, and listening to the teaching. All of these are said to be signs that a purification has taken place. So it has been stated that there are no misdeeds that cannot be purified. Every misdeed can be purified. And we find stories such as the story of Angumala and so forth that was able to purify all of his misdeeds by way of the four opponent powers. So how do we know that we have done, that there has been a clearing away of our misdeeds or a purification of our misdeeds? When we look at our sleep, there are 3 periods. We don't look at the first period, the second period. We rely on the 3rd period of our sleeping, the last stage of sleeping. And if our body is well, if we are well, then we can interpret whether or not we have purified our misdeed, such as by having the experience of drinking milk. So we rely upon the text to find out what those signs are, so that we know we're accurate in our belief that there's been a purification.
What about the Good Samola Temba, Duni la Meba, Debala Temba, Sonje, Takuzula Temba de Marva, Kuzula Temba ne Sanje Dan Sanjela Tebanye ne Kuzu Sheba Usa, Sanjil Tebanye, Sanjil Tebajene, Sanji Kunda, Dundijimba Ina Wade, Debata Nagres. Yedna da tel te ne ti kunda jimba ina debata nagre ne material te ne material gudung jimba ina debata kangal kaya injirota kuzula tembas.
Number 4, so we've gone through the first, dependence upon profound sutras, the second, interest in emptiness, the third, dependence upon recitation, and now we've arrived at dependence upon images. Dependence upon images means to make images of the Buddha once you have acquired faith in him. So this is, once you have faith, through that faith you are making these images. So if you have this faith in whatever deity you are constructing, then you have this fourth category of dependence upon images. If you're constructing a Maitreya and you have this faith in Maitreya while you're constructing it, then you are engaging in dependence upon image, the remedy which is called dependence upon images. So this is number 4. It's 4 o'clock. We'll take a break.
Sanjil Deva Jene, Sanjil Kuzu Zubayina, Shetan Zubayina, what did Dibatanu was Kuzula Temba, Sanjil Deva Jene, Kuzu Sheba, Sanjil Deva Jene, Sanjil Deva Jene, Sanjil Kuzu to the Jimba, Zubayin Segi Ko, Mugu Ko, Sangi Ko, Jagu Ko, what the Jimba in the Dibatanu grace. Sanjik Shetan Penti Marbe, what is the Tibetan Buddhism?
So, number 4, dependence upon images means to make images of the Buddha once you have acquired faith in him. So, this is referring to making images of the Buddha while you are under the influence of faith. You could be painting tankas or making statues, and whether they're from gold, iron, copper, or silver. If you have this faith while you're simultaneously making it, then you're engaging in this number 4 remedy.
What does it pay to was?
It's very beneficial.
That trouble at the Mother Napa, Tubari
Napa.
Napa trouble at the Sanjit and Tea, Chuden Choba Naban Hatuba Sheba Wosa, Sanjit and Tea Chuden, Sanjit and Tea Chuden, or the Tea Chuden, then Choba Naban Hatuba on the Choba Mombi, Choba Naban Pubaina. What the Tibetan Buddhism? Daga so the Ethiopia, the light, Borderland, and what the Karpia and the Motupia, the Kagaki Divatagro, and the Barapas land, dinner, and the Saatwa to the Chiba to Pubaina, what the Tibetan Buddhism. Uma was a lot, and then tell you operation Digmarbet and Lela Bruta. What the Chuba Pisha and what Divatan was.
Number 5, dependence on worship means to make a variety of offerings to an image of the Buddha or to a stupa, maybe, or his or her stupa. So this is a variety of things. There's many different types of offerings you can make, offerings of lights, water bowls, flowers. You make an offering every time you have food, whether it's your breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You just have to say Om Ahom 3 times, and then simply I offer this to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, to the 3 jewels. So this is very easy, and when we're doing this, we're engaging in the remedy, which is dependence upon worship.
What the trouble there to days are trouble, but also 2 June Sa Tonga to what put Chubaina, and then also Sa Tonga Yariasis Sagre Tongre, Tiput Chogine Ajure was.
So this category of dependence upon worship, I think dependence upon offering, if I'm also, you could really translate this as, the most, because we have to eat and drink so often, it's very powerful when we make offerings every time that we eat or drink something. And if we can offer our clothes, offer our cars, offer our houses, make an offering of them, then this is also very good and becomes a dependence upon worship. And just as a translator's note, not meaning give it away, just meaning making an offering in the same way you would offering your food and drink. So I just want to make sure that's clear, that I'm translating it with clarity. So that's anytime you're doing these things, you're engaging in the remedy, which is dependence on worship. Namgyal Monastery, Rinpoche.
That Truba Channel Temple, Truba Channel Temple, Sanjay Dang, Geshe Lharampa, Chen Tuition Zhuang the Dadness, La Dusungo, Zhuang Zhang de Yen Mongos, that do the never good should be thought to the Lumen Shanti de Wagi, La Duca Sonjabe, with the Sindus Sesson by Ins, and the Yen Mobiores,
Lesso, Drupa.
Truba de Doa.
So then
Sanjay Dang, Geshe Lharampa, Chen Tuition Zhuang that Sanjay Dang, Shaju Sabasu, Chen Tuine, and Chen Zhuang, Chen Devatel, Chen Latemba, Daji the Nuji Magune, Ha John Shabayina, Chen Latemba, Sangasu de Avote, the Lodervata. Daji the Nuji Magune, Ha Drabayina, Teadoman Mam Drabayina, Chen Latemba is Daji the Nuji Gune, Hanti Queen Drabayina, Debaris. What did not Chaba de Imkacharo, Taji de Jirota. Yeah.
So number 6, dependence on names, means to hear the recitation of and retain the names of Buddhas and the great conquerors' children. This is the category we have to differentiate from number 3. If you are reciting the names of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, or their mantras, name mantras, and you are not doing the front and self-generation practices, and you're not imagining this mantra garland and the support that is supported by a moon mandala, if you are not engaging in these visualizations while doing the recitation of the name mantras, then you're doing the practice of dependence on names. If you do include the front and self-generation practices and so forth, then it becomes dependence on recitation. Mantras such as Shakyamuni's mantra, Teata Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Ye Soha, and others as well. And then it says these 6 types of remedies are only those that occur in Shanti Deva's compendium of trainings. There are many others. These 6 were presented by Shanti Deva, but there are many other remedies that you can apply.
sen tema yi debal tema mais.
So many Tibetans, as a tradition, recite the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum. The grandmothers, the children, the siblings, everyone recites this. The parents, the siblings, and so forth recite these mantras, but they are not doing the front and self-generation practices. Therefore, they are engaging in the practice of dependence on names.
And
also in the Chinese tradition, we find the recitation of the Amitabha mantra with the accompanying of a bell or a, I'm sorry, I don't know the name of it, but it's, Rinpoche didn't even, he just said dung, so accompanying with a bell. So this is probably dependence on names because it'd be difficult for that accompanying front and self-generation practice to be presented in that tradition. But if you are doing the Amitabha recitation while engaging in the front and self-generation practices, then you are engaging in dependence upon recitation. So this is dependence upon names. So the 6 remedies that are found under the category of the power of applying remedies have now been completed, and this is a very important section.
Gusonji le dan nyomo batan chuji diba sheba shedu chuji diba sheba shedu chuba jesu yeranwa ane jesu yeranwa je sheba tanji ane zeba ni minhibi ndole sonsosa What Nebal had to be taught the Kabasundus and the Yemi Hibindol Sundus and Hisare. Yemi Hibindus Jirova, Tenolosundus. Takate, Diba Shinjing and Diba Shigames at the mother. Nebal had to be taught, Shinjing and Diba Shigames.
That's so.
Nebal and Yabatunla, Shijil of Atunla, what's the Zero, Tanga Susun to do. What the Sutashi Diba Shigames.
That's so.
What the Tosumba Teredua Magawa Chiantabara, Dombate, Dene, Suju Gune, Gusunji, Letan, Yomoba the Chuji Jiba, Sheba, Shedu Juba, Jesu Yerawa, Sheba Tanji, and then Jumba, Yemini Bindulus Sosa.
That's so.
Debat Shigmes or Donsen Jebaina.
Lessa.
Debat about the Yemin Hibindolus on the Husata.
So the third power is the power of turning away from faults. The third power is actually restraining yourself from the 10 non-virtuous actions. In the Sun Essence Sutra, the Buddha said that restraint destroys all karma, afflictions, and obscurations of the teaching created physically, verbally, or mentally by way of killing and the like. The third power eliminates bad actions that you have previously created yourself, caused others to create, or have rejoiced in others creating. Confession that lacks an attitude of wholehearted restraint becomes merely words. Dharma Mitra's commentary on the Sutra on the Discipline explains that the Buddha was thinking of this fact when he said in Scripture, "Is there subsequent restraint?" Therefore, it is important to have an attitude of restraint within which you have conviction not to commit that action again. Moreover, the development of this attitude depends on the first power. Here, this is in the future, committing to restraining yourself not engaging in this activity that you just engaged in and had to acknowledge and regret. So this is the essence of what number 3 means, stopping this action in the future, whatever that negative action was.
다 디발 샤다 지기나 디바 시징에 디바 지기 매냐면 생그 띠니 아부 매나 안 와데 디바 디아부 다투고 섬도와 시 타바네 동생 매바스 시징에 디바 사가 매냐비 상루도 매바 샤바 치정도 로알라 고네스 네 지샤바 제가 제나고 치정을 마도 샤바 아버지 제가 매버래 치정도 로알라 고네 시지 도모스 네발네바 통로 시제 도모스 아주 수준도 수는 어때 되로 다시지 디바 사그면 다시지 디바 사그면 동라스 동생도 개치부인도와 개치부에 송고서 시제 동생 매바 어때 디바 샤바 이제 치장레스 디바 샤당 야브레가 말에 송데서 시제 도모스 동라스 야니 타바네 시제가 디바 사그면 냐베 동생 구글에 송데서 도모 시 론레 솜바 도와 자신들의 시도스 도와 자신들 도안도 타와요 되요 자신들 어떤 도와요로 도와 어떤 자신들의 손도스다.
So the third power is restraining yourself from the non-virtuous deed that you committed in the future. And it says here that restraint destroys all karma, afflictions, and obscurations of teaching created physically, verbally, or mentally by way of killing and the like. The third power eliminates bad actions that you have previously created yourself, caused others to create, or have rejoiced in the creating. Confession that lacks an attitude of wholehearted restraint becomes merely words. So if you have acknowledged your downfalls, but you don't have this idea that you should not commit this in the future again, then it really doesn't have any power to it. It really is just, as it says here, merely words. So there really needs to be this idea of restraint that is coupled with the other parts of the powers in order for it to really be meaningful. And then it says Dharma Mitra's commentary on the Sutra on the Discipline. So this is an explanation of the Vinaya Sutra. And Rinpoche said that there were various categories of the Vinaya, and this it falls the Dowa Sum Gari Sum Rinpoche.
Dowa Jachin 그래서 노안도 자는 노아 자신이 노안데 보면요로다 자신에서 제가 주요래 어떨 송사스.
Okay, so on the Vinaya, in the Vinaya tradition, there are many different categories. In the Vinaya tradition, there are many explanations and texts that give commentary on the Vinaya, such as the Vinaya Sutra. And this text here, which is Dharma Mitra's commentary on the Sutra on the Discipline. So we have many different commentaries on the Dolwa, on the Vinaya. So they said that Gunaprabha and Shakyaprabha and Gunaprabha, Shakyaprabha, and Sumba. And the other pandits that you can find are scholars of the Vinaya. Okay. So we find in this traditions that when you engage in the acknowledgement of your misdeed or downfall, there has to be this idea of restraint, future restraint that is there while you're doing it. So this is what Lama Tsong-kha-pa states.
Shadang Jet, Tsang and Rogres, Shadang Abrego Mares, Telagone, Shenche Domo, She Lonely Somba, Doa Jashin Religion to Osa. Tanga Sulu Sudil, the Nebala Neva Tonga, Tigrota, Nebala Neva in the Tonso as sea. Shenche Domos, less Dongi La Gorota. Don't that when I don't to you and a man, I can't tell less Lagorota. Shenche Domo, she that never Shenche Jagaman, don't send Jeba in a Diba of Tan was Rota. Don't send the man Tagmaris, Shabbat the cheese on the road. Don't send Shabbat cheese on the road Lagone. Shenche Domo, she lonely Somba, Doa Jashin, lonely Somba, do you do Jero? Jashin Diego Sondo Serta. She does.
Then he did Chiwa, the Sojung Nangla, Rinpoche, Sojung Garina.
So, Sujun Sudilo, that Morgan and the Sujun Suro, that the Sujun Shas, Shava Tale, Nebala Nebatonga, Shinshi Levaton, or Travatan Yurita. What the Nebala Nebaton was a Tuan Shave was Tigorota, and Tunlas. Shinshi Doma, some of you, Shinshi that Diba Shagimabasina. Shagimans Donuts.
Ah, okay.
What this one there?
Oh, okay, lesser. So then it says the commentary on the Sutra on Discipline explains that the Buddha was thinking of this fact when he said in Scripture, "Is there subsequent restraint? Therefore, it is very important to have an attitude of restraint within which you have conviction not to commit that action again. Moreover, the development of this attitude depends on the first power." So in the Sojung, the monks and nuns' acknowledgement of downfalls, they have a section where there are questions. Have you engaged in this downfall? Have you committed this downfall? Yes. Is there subsequent restraint? So do you wish to refrain from this in the future? So this is part of the ceremony itself. In the Sojung tradition. So if there isn't this restraint present, then the other opponents won't work very well. So there really has to be this wholehearted resolve of restraint in order for it to truly to truly work or to truly function.
Nabasha Gunjubita, Never Gunjubita, Tene Hadubita, Sonje, Tajeba Tange dot Marba, Jeba Tange dot Jandutan, Sanji Gumba was in the Jebusoma, Taman Rutadu, Jandu Taman Chinsabare, Sanji Shugungre, Jandutan Sanji Gumba Tange Torres.
So we've gone through then the first three: the power of eradication, the power of applying remedies, the power of turning away from faults, and now we're at the power of the foundation, or the power of the basis. And this is referring to going for refuge in the three jewels, and then developing the mind that aspires to enlightenment, or bodhicitta. So within the great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment, we've already gone over going for refuge, and later in the text, the mind that aspires to enlightenment is explained, the cultivation of the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So this is what the power of the foundation is referring to.
What the John said that John to Tamal Momichesa Rota, Tama to Rota Rota, John Otijan, Sanji Rota, Sanji.
So we've gone over refuge quite a bit already, and in the future we'll go over the mind that aspires to enlightenment.
John to the Sanji Gumbasa. Tell a chill Jayu Ledan Numobi Deba Jun, taught Natsuba Songjang, Nebu Yonsu Zuban, Doji Tsong was. That's the Majerimache, but Dudu Jison Udua. Tell a Jerry Jayus, Shajatobe, led on Yomobi, Deba Juan, Lady Deba, Yomobi Deba Juan, Gunhatu Jison Yoris, 송장 Nebu Yonsu Zuban Doji Dres, Nebu Doji Dres, 어떻게 집에 송도와 Nebu Doji 나반jem 선jem 군디 쉬비타 Nebu 군디 쉬비타 Nebal Hadu Vito Tenjito 어디지데 계시버에 송도래
The power of the foundation. The fourth power is going for refuge to the three jewels and cultivating the spirit of enlightenment. So this is a very abbreviated point that Geshe Rinpoche is making here. He's just stating the words in this part of the text. With regard to this, the conqueror spoke in general about a variety of means through which beginners could remove their sins. However, a complete remedy requires all four powers to be present. So Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, presented many methods for beginners to remove sins, or to purify sins. But in order for there to be a complete remedy, there have to be all four opponent powers present. That's it. Dixon.
단장이 뭐데 처바도 도지 잡을 수 있더라 사지 제제로 사지 제가 난 담부터 대발아 제만야 와서 담알지 동안시 줘봐 네바지 대바시 줘봐 손바 말베 대바시 줘비 수 도지 들어 어 손바지 다 제바들 다 주조봉도 제바 사실에 제바 다 주조봉도 제바들 되는마다 자주 사지 고고 다수 저번도 제가 되는마 안에 디바 달로서 되는마 네 디바 다수 저번도 제가서 되는래 자주 사지 고고
Ale saji.
사지 지역나네 제바들 사지 고디네 안만데 시정도와
In Kabagatsu Gutsudu.
Deba Talu tenere, Deba Talu set Gogno Tomutre, Deba Talu Nebu Yuzuban, Toji Tong was Takit and Josmo, what the Tishutre, Toji Tong. That Deba Talu is what in ma.
Okay.
Judge was such a good in Tomutre. What?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
That Deba Candes Tabar, what the Tuba Moyo was that.
So the four opponent powers have to all be present in order for it to be a complete remedy for the karma and afflictions. So now this next, we've gone through the first categories of Jayan Sheba's outline. We've gone through first the category that deals with remedy itself and the need, even though we don't want to engage in a non-virtue, we do so because of being under the influence of afflictions and unknowing, carelessness, etc. So this is the first category, the need for remedy when we engage in non-virtue. The second category,
Tatter Gogan Tomo the General Rojeta Deba Talu ne Nandu Dungan Chenmo Chenmo Ji Juna Dungan Chongwa Ji Junjuas Deba Tasa Dungan Chenmo Jayage and Nyawaga Dungan Jaya what and Deba Tuso and then Dungan Chuchulma Jayama Chuchunja Manjun Debataji orders Debatalu ne Nandu Dungan Chenmo Ji Junas, when I knew what's hanging of a Ji Deba Juna Tane Deba Chonji Junjuasa Deba Chembo to Sutane Deba Chuchunchan was.
Then the giant Sheba Sache, the Tambo, Nipo, Sumba, the Tambo. Yene, the Doje, the Sache J, you're Sache Tambo, Nipa, this Sache Sumba Yimba.
Sumba Temarda Sumba.
Tambo.
Tomba Tin, but Tomba Tene Karsa. Deba Chimanya Bajan, Digmaris.
Lesso.
And what they tune in the Chiton House was Sombalbe Tombaji.
Lesso.
Never Tonga Shechu Tuji, Somba Deba Shechu to the Marba.
Lesso. Oh,
Jiba the Taludro.
Lesso.
Till such a good
Okay.
Gugan Tom
Two Chena. So when we look at the Jayan Sheba's outline of this section, there are a total of 8 categories. The first category being, even though we don't want to engage in non-virtue, being under the influence of our afflictions, carelessness, and unknowing, we do so, so we must apply a remedy. So this is the first category. The second category deals with remedying downfalls or infractions. The third category deals with the remedy for misdeeds or non-virtue by the application of the 4 opponent powers. And now we're at the fourth category. And this fourth category, Jayan Sheba says, has 9 categories within it. So this category is sins are removed in several ways. And then we get into the various ways, and there's a lot of debate that people would engage in related to this particular section. Okay, and then I just have to find where it is. Just have to Junjuas Naru Dunga Chemua Sanya Namachi, Dunga Chemichi, and the Diba to Sukangalo, Ma Tane, and then Diba Chujunuage, Junjun, Diba Tavares Naru Dunga Chemichi, Junas, Naru Dunga Chemichi, Diba Na, Tane, and then Dunga Chuachi, Junjuas. Less so. Okay, so the first category among the 9 is one way is when small sufferings occur instead of great sufferings of rebirth in the miserable realms. So this type of purification is a purification that, for instance, if a particular misdeed that you engaged in would give rise to the suffering of the hot hell realm, then you wouldn't experience something much less than that, instead of having to endure the suffering of a hot hell. So this is the first category of how a misdeed that would normally create a large amount of suffering does not create, would normally create a large amount of suffering, creates a smaller experience of suffering.
Taya Deba Talu Chinderes, Gandu Jang, Ti Dunga Manuans,
Lesser.
Tangasul Cheba in a Nasul Dunga Manuashi, Nasul Chinakajuaris, the Deba Tane, who Dibi Debatangasul Chichin Waters, Dungasul Dungan.
Ah, like Sapo Yomare, Tramo Yomare.
Sapo could Dungan mention.
Ah, lesser, okay.
Dojison was Shadow Jim Debi, Kungasul Chiba Matu, Nasul Dungan Manu, what the Debatabat, Tajuniba the Res, Nadu Jang, Ti Dungan Manuans, Jabba Majida Regimento, Papa says Jabba Majida. Majida Newell Chivaris, Ni Dungan Manumendua. As a bull judge of a Nazi, pull soldier box, Lanza a fine the Najimento, Nasul Tuesday, Lanza a Jim. Doing no matters. Less
so. So that is the first, experiencing a lesser suffering. The second is, another is that even if you are born in a miserable realm, you do not experience its suffering. So even if you are born in the lower realms of cyclic existence, the sufferings that normally occur there won't be occurring for you. And there's also many stories that present this, and also where there is a story of a small child who was in the lower realms of cyclic existence and was able to jump out at times because there wasn't this binding of the suffering that the others had to experience.
야 대바 다주 가신데 요레스 다다 이텐라 고 나와 장제 다네 로아다스 대바 쳐부도 다네 은천들은 고 나와
Less so.
고 나사는 종소나 와 나사 되게 다네 대바 고쳐는 다네스 어디 다주지 어떤데레스.
So these are all if there is an application of the four opponent powers. So if there is an application of the four opponent powers, then these are the several ways in which the sins are removed or the misdeeds are removed. So the next is still another is that a mere headache in the present life serves to remove the sin. So if one applies the four opponent powers, then a misdeed that would normally give rise to a great amount of suffering is experienced as a headache in this lifetime.
당아주 선들 나사람을 kiến 시다 TV다 나사몽 요요로 어디서 지지나 어디를 디바 다운 거서 말베다.
And then also in this life, you see, we have many diseases such as cancer and tuberculosis. And when these diseases arise, there has been some purification that's taken place. Purification of misdeed.
대진도 디바 다수 진는데 요아레스 대진도 윤人不 용고바 낭 윤통어 주의는 요구 그래서 롯자니자다 개바되는 요구 그 대비 제베도 그걸로 안에 추수지요 네 까마지요 단대지 요르스 대신도 주의는 요구바나 주의는 안에 개바다 롯단다와 되는 요구바나 되는 추수지요 실 요네 단대지 요르스 되는 통어스
Likewise, the sins whose effects you must experience for a long time may become ones whose effects you experience for only a short time, or that you need not experience at all. So this particular purification, by way of four opponent powers, removes the length of time of the suffering. So, for instance, someone might have to suffer for months or years or hundreds of years or 200 years or 200 years or kalpas, eons. And it might be reduced to a minute or a second of suffering. So this is what this one means.
안에 디비 저부등은 자원이는 요모고 받는 요하르스 요모고 번주대 대야 안에 용케 또 최종 당스 냐부도지 총군 샤던 지금 또 쳐왔던 진당 총어 어디를 쳐봐 요하르스 또 최종 당 냐부도지 조마조당 슈자무라당 주의 통라 수비 권에 임베 타지등에 보면도 사 어디 디바타 순담담 용대하데 내년부터 좀 창고는 샤던 지게데 네 어디 집어 말해서 상로 가실 또 주요하래 가실 진주하래 가실 총요 담다레스 담다 요상 디바타 순담다 용하레스 어디 손인사래.
Then the sache na go yure the
그 논단도 사지 동부들이 동부 사지 동부래.
Okay, the kanga sache tambo.
Yes.
Okay. There is no certainty about how the sins are removed, because it depends on whether the purifier is of great or little strength, whether the remedy is one in which the four powers are complete or incomplete, intense or not intense, of long or short duration, and so forth. So it really, the four opponent powers can be applied by anyone who engages in misdeeds. But the power of the purification really depends upon the person who is engaging in those four opponent powers and what their way of thinking is. There are those who would have a great level of power. There were those who have a medium level of power. There would be those who have a very small level of power. So the strength really depends upon the person who's participating in the purification and what their way of thinking is. And these all are within still the first category of the 9. So each of these that we've gone through aren't this is the first of the 9, second of the 9, third of the 9. All the ones that we've gone over so far fall into the first category of the 9. Okay.
Letu sa sadu keba jalwana chenda temu diba yongore son doase and diba tana tesu kande resna ode kyo marte toji nyab toji son toja shada maje na te yongore es chab nyab toji son shada maje na keba jashin ba yana and diba reuma chenda temu diba yongore shi res toji son gon shada jena ta thure ten dag mare son Tuji nyebu gomba mebala gonchis, tuji nyebu sheba tare jana ne, nyonge jan daba son des, nyonge ge le tsuka daba son jayor, mange ba tama da tason yo mares, tason tama chinza sonwa. Jedon de chen le se, jedon man de chen le, nde tare kanda nyebu shu nyewa na, kanda nyebu shu nyewa na, Dibi chujin yinba, tada ne to dan denbi, nyebi, ten seba yindes, pena seji yala soba yin nos bujang marbe. Nyebu toju chang goni shadan seba yina, diba chibu kande jina kule dunga juni niba ta nugres, pena seji yala soba yin nos, seli ya yoro gol. Nabuna tenu yoro, trisha na samare to. Tenaji sen lenga isu dibi trabat kodu yoro. Nyabu toju changone shadan jin te ta yoro. Seji ya nabres. What bujagdwa.
So that's the first category among the 9 in the 4th category of Jayan Sheba's outline. This is the second category. The statement in both sutra and text on discipline that karma does not perish even in 100 eons is made with regard to the karma for which you have not cultivated a remedy with the 4 powers. However, if you purify yourself with a remedy having the aforementioned 4 powers, it is said that you will even remove karma that you are bound to experience. Haribhadra's long explanation of the perfection of wisdom sutra in 8,000 lines states, thus, with powerful remedies, you can completely eliminate the unfavorable factors which diminish when you possess the group of remedies. This, for example, is like the tarnish on gold, because all such things as obstructions to the sublime teaching will necessarily diminish, as just explained. You will completely eliminate infractions which originate from arrogance. In the sutras and in the text, the Vinaya texts, the text on discipline, there are statements that state karma does not perish even in 100 eons. So here, this is a section that would be a debate. Is there a problem with that statement that's been made? And the answer is no. There is no problem because this is what's being referred to here. Is karma that has not been purified by way of the 4 opponent powers. karma that has not been has not had the four opponent powers applied to is karma that does not perish even in 100 eons. So when we use the remedy of the four opponent powers, we can remove, as it's stated previously, karma that is certain to experience. And then it's no need to say that if that can be purified, then karma that is uncertain to experience can also be purified. So we've seen that that the definite karma can be purified, and this, the quote, karma does not perish even in 100 eons, refers to karma that has not had the application of these four opponent powers. And then in Haribhadra's long explanation of the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra in 8,000 lines, it compares these powerful remedies to the cleaning of gold. So gold can become very tarnished, and it no longer has its kind of brilliant color, but it can be cleaned and it can be polished. And likewise, these negativities are that we have are keeping us from the sublime teaching, but that obstruction can be cleansed, can be purified by way of remedy, and then we will be completely eliminate all of that negativity. So there's an example here that's comparing remedies to the cleaner of gold. So I think, let me just make sure. So less so. It becomes difficult when you state that in debate terms, the subject, karma that is certain to experience, can it be purified? It can be purified by way of the four opponent powers. But what about the statement that says in the sutra and text on discipline that karma does not even perish in 100 eons? And then you would say this is not necessarily so. Why is it not necessarily so? Because the four opponent powers can be applied. So this is how you would look at it in those terms. You would be using the subject, which is the removal of certain karma, and the statement in the Vinaya and Sutra texts that seems to contradict one another, but doesn't when looked at in that way.
What the Luna is a Tibaka Shiba never told you so much. I don't know Tibetan Sige, Celia, Nabunam Kazina, Trinatan was. Sige Yalas was in us.
Just like any of gold can be cleansed completely of all of its tarnish, all of the misdeeds that we've created through our body, speech, and mind can be purified as well. Completely purified as well.
Tambi Chuji Jibala Suba, Tanji Jang, Chikedu Shibi, Chujin Inosa, Tambi Chupung Letus in Jirota, Chikedu Shibi, never told you so much. I don't Chigina, Tabi Chujin Res, Shisha Rebes, Non Senji, Tonyu Nana, the Maluba, Sebanjoa Inosa, Tonyu Nene, Non Senji, Tonyu Nene, Maluba. Never told you something when Shadon Jena Seba Juarez. What the Daniba is Haji going on Niba Tariniba Madudu Samare. So
This, for example, is like the tarnish on gold, because all such things as obstructions to the sublime teaching will necessarily diminish as just explained. You will completely eliminate infractions which originate from arrogance. You should understand that the statement, any karma at all, even for 100 eons, is qualified. So we're starting to get into the next sections, and we're not going to be able to go over that, so we're going to end the teaching here, right here. Time's finished.
We'll
go through this slowly. There is no rush.
Yeah.
Concluding mandala offering and dedication prayer. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I have corrected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drakpa to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri, and likewise Samantabhadra as well, with whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traversed 3 times. I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. Avalokiteshvara Tenzin Jatso, till samsara's end. Pray for the long life of the precious Khensur Wandak, holder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, the spiritual friend who trained extensively in the 5 great philosophical texts with exceptional wisdom and perseverance. Tuji Rinpoche Gutsi Shabi Denonam.